I've had my SIG P211 for about 5 months now. I've got 5,000 rounds through this gun. And you know what? As you probably know, it hasn't been without its problem. I had the plastic recoil plug in this gun fail. We'll talk about that in a minute. But since then, I have used this gun in a variety of circumstances. I'm going to show a lot of footage today of what I've done with this thing. But at the end of this video, honestly, some of you are probably going to call me a SIG shill, because anytime somebody says something good about SIG, that's what they get called. You know what? This is my favorite handgun. Today, I'm going to show you why. Let's get in. Shooter, make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. It started off fantastic. This gun is flat and accurate, and every time I pulled the trigger, it just sang. I love this thing. But then disaster struck for me when I realized that SIG had put a plastic recoil plug in the P211. You've probably seen this. There's my recoil plug. That semicircle towards the top of my palm there is what broke off that allowed that plug to be shoved through the front of the slide by the recoil spring. It rendered my P211 inoperable for a couple days. Now, look, SIG finally did step up. It took them a couple days, but they did overnight me a new plastic plug. And I'll admit, that replacement plastic plug lasted like 1,500, 2,000 rounds just fine. No problems. But it haunted me. This is my competition gun. It was always on my mind, and it was my worst fear that I'd be out on the range and my gun would be totally useless because the plug would shatter. Step up Aquilla Arsenal, who started producing metal plugs. I love that capitalism stepped in. See a need, fill a need, and they did it. So then I got the metal plug in there, and that gave me the courage to start making some other modifications to the gun, like putting different springs in, which I'll show you in a minute.
First shots with a metal recoil plug.
Okay, I'm going to insert a very quick update here. This week was SHOT Show, and I was traveling with my day job. I'm going to take vacation moving forward because I don't want that to happen again. But I kept my eye on what was going on at SHOT Show. I'll give you some insights on that in another video. But I was really watching closely the SIG stuff because I knew they were going to announce at least a Commander version of the P211, which it looks awesome. But what caught my attention was they announced that all new P211s moving forward will ship with a metal recoil plug. So that got me thinking, what are they going to do for the rest of us, those early adopters? So I emailed SIG's customer service. I just said, hey, early adopter here. I have the plastic recoil plug. Is there any plan to get those of us that are still out here with plastic plugs, any of the metal ones? The email I got back didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but they're sending me for free a metal recoil plug. When that comes in, I'll take it. I'll compare it to the Aquilla one, and we'll kind of see what's better. But the point is, hats off to SIG. Great job. They're making it right. Now, I am not just forgetting that it was a rocky road to get here, but absolutely doing the right thing and getting that made right for gun owners. Thank you, SIG. Great work. I think this does kind of confirm my hope that SIG is on the right track, that customer service is going to be a key focus for them, and that they're committed to making quality products. I think the 320 debacle has gun owners, even me, nervous about SIG. And now I skipped the whole 320 thing. A lot of you know I've actually only shot one once, which was not all that long ago. Maybe I'll insert the footage here, but
All right, I got the SIG 320 Max Michael. Gonna put some rounds through this. Too bad you can't use one in competition because they shoot really good.
You like the gas pedal on that? Or
I
no?
do, man. That's a nice fit. I like
That was
it.
the gun I was running, and then they're like, nope.
Nebu mine, huh?
Yeah. What's wrong with it? It's the 320.
But the point is, I think this is a good signal that SIG is on the right track, and that despite the 320 issue, they're setting things right for customers. They're doing the right thing. They're building a quality, an incredibly high quality gun in the P211, and the future looks bright. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that that's the road that continues. So hats off to you, SIG. Thanks again. Let's go on with the video. I've been able to shoot this gun in a ton of different ways. I got some buddies together early on and we compared these guns. This is the SIG P211. We compared it with the Girsan and with the Staccato XC, kind of a down market and up market versions of comp 2011s. It was a fantastic comparison to kind of see what the diminishing return is on a 2011. Is it worth a 4,000 plus galactic credits for a Staccato? We used some Mantis data to find out. Then I thought, okay, I've got the metal plug in there. Let's play with spring weights now because I wasn't as nervous. So I was able to put the 11-pound spring in.
Yep, and they got the same flashlight on them, different colors.
Same.
This one has the 10-pound factory SIG spring.
Okay.
So
we're gonna
10
do
pounds, 11 pounds.
All right, so we're gonna do 10 rounds each, and we're gonna see
There's a
which one
preference.
we like.
Yeah.
Okay.
See how it goes.
All right, let's do it.
So here's my P211 with the 11-pound Atlas spring, the 4.6-inch spring, shooting against a virtually identical gun with the 10-pound factory spring. Then I wanted to run this gun in limited optics. So I got the comp delete. I got it from FDES Works. SIG has theirs out now. And this gun shoots absolutely fantastic as a limited optics gun. Yeah, of course, there's more muzzle rise. I'm not having that compensator out there. But I bought this gun for this flexibility, for the ability to run it both in open or an IDPA or whatever I want to do with a comp. But then if I want to run in a competition where I'm not allowed to have that comp, I can pull it. So then I tuned the gun without the comp. And for me, I ended up settling. You can watch that whole video, but I settled on the 9-pound Atlas spring. Just felt the best to me. Muzzle rise seemed the best. And on the 11-pound spring, I kind of felt like it was snapping back too far and I was getting some muzzle dip in it. And the 9 just felt the fastest. So here's what that shoots like. Nice and flat, right back to 0. Really love the gun shooting like that. I've shot this gun in various competitions. I shoot this gun in, like I said, in limited optics. I run it in Steel Challenge. I run it in PCSL. I run it some multi-gun competitions, USPSA stuff. This gun has become a nice all-around gun because of that flexibility for me, and I just really enjoy it. Here's one of my multi-gun matches, so it's just the first section of it. I'll tell you, that PCSL multi-gun has become probably my favorite format for competition. Shot a couple night shoots here and there, which is a ton of fun. But I found that this gun shoots soft enough that even for a beginner shooter like my daughter, this is my adult daughter, who is wanting to get more comfortable with a handgun, and this is a great gun for that because it shoots so soft.
Good. You like that?
Yeah, I like that gun.
All right, so let's talk the basic things that I've added to or modified on this gun. First of all, obviously it has the Streamlight TLR1 here. That adds a little bit of weight, keeps that muzzle down a little bit more even for competition. And so I've liked that. It also, on my offhand, it gives me a place to rest my thumb without it really being something that I'm putting input on the gun. It's just an index point for me, and I don't feel a need to put pressure on it. Like sometimes with the gas pedal, I tend to push the gun off a little. So this works really well. I've added the lock grips on here, LOK lock grips. I like this texture on the lock grips. You'll notice in the previous videos, I had the handle it grips on here, and I liked the way they felt. I didn't really like the look of them on the gun. I do like this look a lot better, and they are much more grippy, I think, than the factory. So this fits really well. I'm hoping that Lock Grips eventually comes out with a palm swell version here that just got a little bit of swell like I've got on my Shadow 2. that would be great. And I'll show you some footage of me with a trigger here in a minute. I think I talk about that there. I also have the Vortex Defender XL on here. I went with this optic because I've been wanting to test it, but the footprint of this optic is the Delta Point footprint, which fits direct mount on the slide. So that was a great thing for me. I got to test out an optic I hadn't tested before, and I'll do a full optic breakdown at some point. If you want to see that video, subscribe here, and I'll do that one here in the coming weeks. I like this optic because it's got a nice big button to brighten and dim on the other side, rather than the Holosun where it's kind of smaller buttons that you're trying to fight with a little bit. But optic to optic, I've got this one. I've got the Delta Point Pro. I've got several of the 507 comps from Holosun. I've got the O-Sight X. So I've got a few that we can kind of put side by side, and I'm not going to torture test them or beat the crap up. I pay for all of these, so I'm not going to tear them up. But I'll talk to you through usage and kind of what real world use is going to look like from a shooter standpoint. I've made some tiny adjustments on the trigger, mostly just the set screw here, and then just kind of wearing it in. You know what? Let's go to that footage. I'll show you some things on the trigger and talk about the grips here. Let's go into that.
Trigger weight. This thing pulling just under 3 pounds. Get where you can see the scale here. It's really consistent right at 2 3/4. Do that again. Two and 3/4 pounds. So it's been super consistent. I'm really happy with that. Didn't take much tuning to get that there. Got the take-up screw dialed in a little bit. And then it's just kind of shot into that point where that's it. Really nice reset. Yeah, it's a good trigger. Fits my hand really well. Obviously, I've got these giant hands, and now I'm able to get in there and get purchase on the gun. So I've got a good grip. And that's uncommon for me on a handgun, so this fits really great for large hands. I'm a big fan. I hope that lock grips will come out with a palm swell, because I think that would even help me a little bit more. I think that would be wonderful. Just to get a little bit extra on there. That would make it feel a little bit more like, this is my CZ Shadow 2, and I don't know that there's a gun that feels better in my hand than this. Just got that extra palm swell on it, and man, that thing fits good. But beautiful gun. So that little swell right there makes a big difference for me, and I would love to see something like that right here. Just make that a little bit, just give that a little bit of width for me, and I'd really, really like it, I think. But nice big grip. It's wonderful. No complaints there.
So in the past 5 months, I put 5,000 rounds through the gun. I mentioned at the very beginning of this video what the conclusion was going to be. So hopefully that didn't just completely tank my viewership on this video, because that kind of breaks every, you're supposed to keep them guessing. But look, I think you've seen that I've shot this gun under an incredible amount of diverse situations. I've used it in several different formats of competition. I've taken it out of the range with brand new shooters. I've taken it to the range with very experienced shooters. I've been at competitions multiple times where people notice this is the gun it is. I'll talk about it a little bit. And at the end of the competition, once the range is clear, I'll end up with a line of guys asking if they can put a few rounds through the gun. I've had guys standing there with an Atlas and even with a TTI Sand Viper on their hip, take this gun and shoot it and go, wow, that's better than I thought it was going to be. None of them would trade me straight across, right? I get that. But the fact is, the gun shoots very flat, very smooth. It feels amazing in the hand. It's got a great grip. the ability to, I'll call it modular, the modular ability to have the comp delete put in here and just swapped out really quickly. And I've got an entirely different category of gun in limited optics. That's a game changer. Now, this gun gets compared a lot to the Kimber 2K11. And for me, in the 2011 space, dollar for dollar, this is first place, and the Kimber 2K11 is second. And it's close. The Kimber 2K11 is a more traditional style 2011. If that's what you're looking for, that's fantastic. They get compared a lot, but they're, up until now, they've kind of been apples and oranges. Now they've got that Kimber 2K11 comp. So we're I think Buck and I are getting together from Tactical Weapon Combat Ready channel. He is going to come out with me, and we're going to do a comparison on the Kimber 2K11 with a comp versus the P211 with a comp. And then we're going to put the comp delete on this thing, and we're going to put a non-comp barrel in that gun, and we're going to run those things side by side. And we're going to see which one wins comped and non-comped on the same guns. I think that's a really great comparison because I think in 2025, it's not arguable that those two were the most popular 2011s on the market. Coming into 2026, both SIG and Kimber have invested more dollars and development into those platforms, respectively. SIG now has versions of this gun without the comp, without the sight block. Kimber now has a comped version. They both have commander size now, so that's an interesting comparison on the two guns. I think they're the dollar amounts are why gun buyers want to compare the two, because they look at Kimber and they look at SIG and they see the same dollar amount and they think, wow, I want to know the difference between these two guns so that I can make a decision. I'm looking forward to that comparison. My choice as of right now is the P211. I love the ability to hand this to a guy with an Atlas and have him go, wow, and to be able to hand this to my adult daughter who's wanting to get more comfortable with a handgun and have her shoot it and say, that was my favorite gun of the day. Beginning shooters, experienced shooters, both love the way that this tracks in the hand. And I think look, like I said, it hasn't been without its little bit of rocky road, but I think SIG knocked it out of the park with this gun. I've got, at this point, very little to complain about. It's easy to clean. I have, like I said, 5,000 rounds through it. And if I cleaned it up a little bit, you would not know that it's got 5,000 rounds through it. You could set this down to it next to a brand new one. And I don't think there's a mark on it anywhere that indicates any wear whatsoever. Even inside the slide, there's not a lot of wear marks. There's not a lot of silver marks. I've kept it oiled and I've kept it clean and I've maintained it because it's so simple to do. But it's been a low maintenance, very, very reliable, other than the one plastic plug issue that I had with those metal plugs coming out. I would highly recommend the SIG P211. I think it's a great gun for great people. And guys, I'm just a little YouTube channel. SIG ain't paying me to say that. They I'm not even on their radar. So that's something that I've come to on my conclusion after spending a lot of time with this gun. And I think it's something that if you're looking at this gun, I don't think you'll be sorry. So there you go. Ask me any questions you've got. Happy to answer questions you have about the gun. Hit me in the comments below. Thank you for stopping by.